Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. I'm Ty Glenn. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. I know I don't do my episodes on Friday anymore, but there's just a lot of NHL news to discuss, including a 15-game slate that happened on Thursday. So I just say, you know what? Why not talk about it on Friday? So that's why I'm doing the episode on Friday. So there's lots of NHL news to discuss for today. So make sure that you stay tuned in to this episode until the end. Before we go ahead and get started, do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe button if you are watching on YouTube, and if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio, make sure to follow the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast on there. We are with you guys every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 o'clock p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Central Time, 2 o'clock p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But because there was a 15-game slate on Thursday, and there was just a lot of NHL news to discuss, that's the only reason why I'm doing the episode for Friday. But normally, from now on, it's every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 o'clock p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Central Time, and then 2 o'clock p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But again, just a lot of NHL news to discuss for today. But yeah, make sure to follow the Hockey Talk TG Podcast wherever you're listening, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Really helps me out in growing the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast, and so that you guys can stay up to date on the latest NHL news. Repost this to a friend, tell a friend, to tell a friend. This is the podcast for all things hockey, so make sure to get the word out, because again, really helps me out in growing the Hockey Talk TG Podcast, and you guys can stay up to date on the latest episodes and hockey news for the Hockey Talk TG Podcast. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started into the NHL news for today. Patrick Kane passes Mike Modano for most points by USA born player in the Red Wings 4-3 shootout loss to the Washington Capitals on Thursday. He notched his 1,375th career NHL point with an assist on Ben Sherratt's second period goal, officially surpassing Mike Modano's record for most points by a USA-born player. This was a play where Patrick Kane moved the puck up on the boards, and then he dished it to Alistair Brinkett, who dished it to Ben Sherratt. So Kaner got the secondary assist on it, and it still counts because he got his 1,375th career point on Ben Sherratt when he did a slap shot into the back of the net past who was the goalie, Charlie Lindgren, for the Washington Capitals, and Patrick Kane is now the all-time number one all-time for most points by a USA-born player, the greatest American player to ever play the game of hockey. Fortunately, it ended in a shootout loss, but despite that, this was a great night for Patrick Kane, for the Detroit Red Wings, for Blackhawks fans like myself, and for hockey fans like myself that grew up watching Patrick Kane, wanting to play like Patrick Kane, trying to copy off of Patrick Kane. And he inspired lots and lots of people to play hockey, to get into hockey, to play the game. Everybody wanted to be Patrick Kane, and he is an example of one of the greatest, best American players to ever play the game of hockey. With the loss, Detroit drops to 32-17-6 of the season, but still in a good spot, still in second place in the Atlantic Division, trying to make the playoffs for the first time since 2016. They say that 2026 will be the new 2016, so this could possibly be the year that the Red Wings make the Stanley Cup playoffs. And for Mike Modano's record, this record has stood for more than 18 years until now. And then Mike Modano congratulated Patrick Kane for passing his record. Also, there was a photo on Twitter, I refuse to call it X, by the way, where Mike Modano posted of him and his kids taking a picture with Patrick Kane, passing the torch from one American legend to another. American legend. Love to see it right there. And then there was another photo where Patrick Kane was playing against Mike Modano. That was in the later years of 2000 because Patrick Kane made his NHL debut at the start of 2007-2008 NHL season. Mike Modano was still playing then, so there was a couple of photos that NHL posted from that time before Mike Modano retired, where Mike Modano was still on the Dallas Stars. Patrick Kane just starting his career on the Chicago Blackhawks. Like I said, another huge accomplishment for Patrick Kane and his storied, great, incredible, unreal career. Now at 1,375 points. Got it done in 1,342 games. 500 goals. He scored 500. He's notched his 500 career NHL goal earlier on in the season, by the way. But yeah, 500 goals, 875 assists for 1,375 points and 1,342 games played. One of the few American-born players to reach 500 goals. Also has won 3 Stanley Cups. That was with Chicago Blackhawks in 2010, where he had the Stanley Cup game-winning goal. Nobody knew the puck was in but Patrick Kane. And then he and the Blackhawks players started celebrating that year. That was a great memory to remember. I actually had the picture somewhere from that time somewhere in my room. But yeah, he won Stanley Cup in 2010, 2013, took on the Conn Smythe Trophy playoff MVP, and in 2015 at home when he had that goal in the third period for the Blackhawks to make it 2-0, and Corey Crawford with the shutout that year. Patrick Kane also won the Calder Trophy winner in 2008. He won the Hart Memorial Trophy in 2016, which, like I said on Thursday's episode of the Hockey Talk TG podcast, that 2015-2016 season was arguably one of Patrick Kane's best seasons in his NHL career. Red Wings did make this an interesting game, though. So they did make this an interesting game. They came back from 2 goals down, tied it, forced overtime, then they went into a shootout. And Alistair Brinkett was another starter game, another former Chicago Blackhawk. He had 2 goals and 3 assists for a 3-point night. So this was, despite the loss, this was a good night in Detroit. And as a Blackhawks fan, hopefully the Red Wings will make the playoffs this year. They came oh so close in previous years before, and hopefully this is the year that we see Detroit Red Wings playoff hockey. So I'm telling you guys, if you've never been to a Red Wings playoff game before, it is certainly electric, especially when Joe Louis Arena was still around. I still hate that they tore it down. They tore it down in 2017. I hated that they did that. But that arena was always so loud and electric. Like, it blew the roof off the place almost. So it was just unreal. The Red Wings always have a good playoff atmosphere when it comes to playoff hockey. And I remember, I believe this was in 2009, correct me if I'm wrong, Darren Helm, the overtime game-winning goal against my Chicago Blackhawks to send the Red Wings to the Stanley Cup final against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I don't know if this is 2008 or 2009 because the Red Wings and Penguins played in back-to-back Stanley Cup finals that year. So Detroit won in 2008, Pittsburgh won in 2009. So that's why I didn't know if that was either 2008 or 2009 when this happened. But Darren Helm, overtime game-winning goal to send the Red Wings to the Stanley Cup final to face the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that arena was electric. The moment when that puck went into the back of the net. As a Blackhawks fan, felt devastated, but that arena was always so loud and great to play in every single time. And I'm pretty sure the same thing will be said for Little Caesar Arena, even though it's been around for 9 years now, like 8-9 years now. So it'll still, I'm pretty sure it'll have the same atmosphere or almost the same atmosphere as Joe Louis Arena will, if the Red Wings do make the playoffs, which hopefully they will. Fingers crossed. This is all coming from a Blackhawks fan, by the way, and also just want to see Patrick Kane win another Stanley Cup in his career. So, yeah. But overall thoughts on this night, overall thoughts on Patrick Kane's accomplishment, another great accomplishment for Patrick Kane to add to his illustrious NHL career. The greatest USA-born player to ever play the game of hockey. Nobody else tops Patrick Kane on that list. Like I said, inspired lots and lots of people to play the game of hockey. Everybody wanted to be Patrick Kane. One of the greatest NHL players of all time. One of the greatest NHL players in this generation, and one of the greatest USA-born players to ever play the game. I couldn't be more happier than I am right now to see Patrick Kane get this accomplishment, even if it is on the Detroit Red Wings. I'm going to support Patrick Kane no matter what team that he's on, because he was my favorite player growing up, and I'm pretty sure the rest of you guys also grew up watching Patrick Kane, and he was also your favorite player growing up. He was my favorite player growing up, wanted to play my game after Patrick Kane, and no matter what team he's on, I'm always going to support him. So, yeah. The Red Wings will wrap up a 3-game homestand against the Colorado Avalanche on Saturday at 12 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That game will air on ABC and ESPN+. Moving on from the Motor City to North Carolina, as the Carolina Hurricanes, they storm back, no pun intended by the way, and win 5-4 in regulation against the Utah Mammoth on Thursday. So trailing 4-2 with less than 2 minutes left, the Canes have scored 3 times in the third period in rapid succession to win 5-4 in regulation. They got goals from Andrei Sneshikov, a power play goal, Shane Gostisbehere, and Jordan Stahl in that span. Andrei Sneshkov's power play goal pulled Carolina within one with 1 minute and 59 seconds remaining in the third period. And then Shane Gostisbehere had the game time goal with 1 minute and 27 seconds remaining in the third period. And then Jordan Stahl had the game winning goal with 30 seconds to go for the Canes to win that game 5-4. And with the win, Carolina improves to 33-15-5 of the season. They extend their point streak to 6 games, in which they are 5-0-1 during that span, and they're 9-1-2 in their past 12 games. So they have been red hot of late. And fun fact, the Hurricanes become the 3rd team in NHL history to win in regulation after trailing by 2 goals in the final 2 minutes. They joined the Dallas Stars, who did it on October 14th of 1995, and the Montreal Maroons, when the Maroons were an NHL team, and that was on March 15th of 1932. And speaking of old vintage NHL teams, I should also point out that the Hurricanes were wearing their Hartford Whaler jerseys in this game against the Mammoth. The Mammoth had on their home jerseys in this matchup, and the Hurricanes had on their Hartford Whalers jerseys in this one. And their white Hartford Whalers jerseys in this matchup, with the Mammoth wearing their home jerseys. Of course, before the Hurricanes became the Hurricanes, they were called the Hartford Whalers, and they were in Connecticut. And then they moved to Carolina and called themselves the Hurricanes. So just a little hockey history for those who did not know that, and for those that were wondering why were the Hurricanes wearing these jerseys. They were called the Hartford Whalers at first, and then they moved to Carolina, called themselves the Carolina Hurricanes. For those who don't know, Gordie Howe did play for the Hartford Whalers when they were an NHL team, so he wasn't just playing for the Detroit Red Wings, he was also on the Hartford Whalers as well. So another hockey fact to point out for those who did not know that. Andrei Sneshikov and Shane Gostisbehere overall had a great night for Carolina, not just only pitching in to help the Hurricanes in this comeback win, but overall it was a great night for them, a standout performance with 2 goals and assists each for a 3-point night. Andrei Sneshikov now has 20 goals in his past 53 games. 20 goals in 53 games this season, matching his total in 73 games last season. And Brandon Bussey, the bus train, he made 21 saves on 25 shots faced in net. And fun fact, Brandon Bussey became the fastest goalie to reach 20 wins in NHL history, doing so in 24 games. He is now 23-1 during that span. He broke the record that was held by Andrew Hammond, who did it from 2013 to 14 to all the way to 2014-15, and Bill Durnan, who did it from 1943 to 1944, and he reached 20 wins in 25 games this season. So it feels good to be a Hurricanes fan, and Brandon Bussey, rookie, standing tall for the Hurricanes once again. For the Utah Mammoth, Kayla Yamamoto had 2 goals and an assist for a 2-point night. JJ Paterka, Michael Carconi also scored for the Mammoth. Jack McBain had 2 assists, while Karel Vermelka made 28 saves on 33 shots faced the net. Mammoth had won 6 of their last 7 games coming into this one. So 6-7. Yes, I love doing that trend, 6-7. I still don't get the overall meaning of the trend, but I just love doing it. Anyway, 6-7 is what the kids are doing these days. And the Mammoth, they finished their 4-game road trip 2-2-0. And they dropped to 28-22-4 of the season. The Mammoths start a 6-game homestand against the Dallas Stars on Saturday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Hurricanes head to the nation's capital to take on Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals on Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Now it's time to preview the 2026 NHL Stadium Series between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins. The NHL Stadium Series will be set for this Sunday, February the 1st at 5:30 p.m. Central Time at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. This game will air on ESPN and ESPN Plus for you guys to watch. There will also be an alternate ASL presentation as well for the game, and can't wait for that. The coverage will include aerial shots, Skycam, mic'd up players, and the best seat in the house on ice level experience with special guests and interviews. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, take a look at their stats from this season. They are now 34-14-4 of the season with 72 points. First in the Atlantic Division, and they are coming off of a 4-1 win over the Winnipeg Jets at home on Thursday. For the Boston Bruins, they are now 32-20-3 of the season with 67 points. They're tied with the Canadiens for first place in a wild card spot and overall third place in the Atlantic Division. Of course, the Sabres occupied that third spot of the Atlantic Division with a 31-17-5 record, coming off of a 4-1 win over the LA Kings on Thursday, in which Alex Tuch had a hat trick in the game. Bruins are coming off of a 6-3 win over the Flyers, and then Canadiens are coming off a 7-3 win over the Avalanche. So it is really tight. It's tight in the Eastern Conference, more tighter than it is in the Western Conference. And I'm a Blackhawks fan. It's not even that tight in the Western Conference as it is in the Eastern Conference. So everybody's trying to get into a playoff spot, and usually this happens around March that we see these teams, that we see these conferences so tight and everybody just wanting to get points into the playoff spot. So we usually don't see this heat up until March, really. But it is crazy how everything is packed right now in both the Western and Eastern Conference. And for the Stadium Series, this will be the first NHL outdoor game. Well, actually, that's wrong. My bad. I was going to say this will be the first NHL outdoor game played in the... Well, actually, no. I'm right. This will be the first NHL outdoor game played in a football stadium in Florida. That's what I meant to say. I don't know what I was thinking the other times, but my bad, you guys. And this event will embrace Tampa's Gaspera Pirate Fest theme with a treasure map style field design, pirate shipwreck elements, theme flows, and props tied into the local culture, making the Stadium Series visually and experientially distinctive. So it's going to be a great NHL Stadium Series game to watch. I did see the design that NHL posted on their social media. It looks really great. Can't wait for it. I was at the 2026 NHL Winter Classic in Miami between the Panthers and the Rangers, and I really enjoyed that game. It was nice to see that NHL pull it off from there, and I can't wait for the one in Tampa, Florida, which I believe is like 3 hours or like 3.5 hours away from Miami. So yeah, it's going to be a good stadium series to watch. For the Bruins, they have played very well in outdoor games. I don't remember their record, but their last outdoor game that they played against was, I believe, in 2023 in the Winter Classic at Fenway Park, which is home to the Boston Red Sox and MLB, and they won against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So they have played. They actually hosted 2 games at Fenway Park, by the way. I believe one of them was in 2010 against the Flyers. But they have played really great overall in outdoor games and stadium series. For the Lightning, they'll be making their second outdoor game appearance. They have won a stadium series game against the Nashville Predators. That was in the 2022 NHL Stadium Series at Nissan Stadium, which is home to the NFL's Tennessee Titans. This event will include interactive fan experiences, festivals, appearances, and family-friendly hockey attractions at Raymond James Stadium in the lead up to the game. So kind of the same thing that they had at the 2026 NHL Winter Classic in Miami at Lone Depot Park, which is home to the MLB's Miami Marlins. Take a look at the weather in Tampa. The weather is supposed to be 46 degrees on Sunday, lower 30s in Tampa. But overall, though, we'll see how the weather will be. Usually Florida, as you guys all know, is a hot state, but usually okay with cool temperatures around this time. In fact, I think I heard on Fox Weather that this was supposed to be the coldest temperature, or somewhere cold, like the coldest it will be in Florida in decades. I heard someone say that on Fox Weather when I was watching the live stream on YouTube. But yeah, at first I didn't think the NHL could pull off the Winter Classic in Miami because, again, Florida is a hot state, but they somehow managed to pull it off, keep the ice cold and cool, and had a good time there. We'll see what happens in Tampa. Like I said, it's going to be 46 degrees on Sunday, so weather could slightly be okay for this Stadium Series game, but we'll just see what happens in it. And speaking of the Stadium Series, still staying with that topic, the NHL announced on Thursday that the Dallas Stars will be playing the VGK Vegas Golden Knights in the 2027 NHL Stadium Series for next season. And this game will be at AT&T Stadium, which is home to the NFL's Dallas Cowboys. The date will be on February 20th of 2027, and the game will be broadcast on ABC and ESPN Plus for you guys to watch. The Golden Knights will be playing in their third outdoor game. They made their first appearance in the Lake Tahoe outdoor game in 2021, which was a loss to the Colorado Avalanche, and then they played in the 2024 NHL Winter Classic in Seattle, and they lost to the Seattle Kraken. For the Stars, this will be their first outdoor appearance since 2020, where they played in the Cotton Bowl against the Nashville Predators, and they won against the Predators at the 2020 NHL Winter Classic. This will be a great matchup in a great Western Conference rivalry outdoor game. These two teams have met in the playoffs the past few years, and with the Golden Knights, I think, winning at least one or two of those series. Dallas Stars winning one of them. So this Stadium Series game should add that fuel to this event. It's going to be a great event. I know some people weren't happy about the Stadium Series being in Texas, but I think the NHL announced earlier on in the season that it was going to be in Texas. So it was kind of no surprise there since they announced it earlier on in the season. They just didn't announce who the opponent will be. But it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. In Dallas, like I said, they hosted an outdoor game before the Winter Classic in 2020 where they took on the Nashville Predators. And I believe, like I said, I know some people weren't happy about that these outdoor games are being in Florida and Texas or so, but I think the NHL is trying to do this to grow, like put hockey in places that you normally wouldn't see hockey, to grow the game of hockey. And that's one reason why I'm happy about the NHL putting hockey in places that you normally wouldn't see hockey, like in Florida and Texas. But they're doing this to grow the game of hockey, to expand it, grow it, and have more people be into it as possible, or something like that. That's just my thoughts of it, which I believe is a great reason why they're doing it. Let me know you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Like I said, I know some people weren't happy about it, but I think it's going to be a great Stadium Series event, especially with these two Western Conference teams going at it. The Golden Knights, Dallas Stars, two of the NHL's top teams, and we'll get to see that Western Conference rivalry feel come in the Winter Classic. I mean, not Winter Classic. I don't know why I keep saying Winter Classic in the Stadium Series game between these two teams. Not sure how the weather will be in Dallas, though. So that's one thing I would be worried about. How will the weather hold up? But the NHL has had experience with doing this before in the Winter Classic this year in Miami, and now the Stadium Series in Tampa. So I'm pretty sure they'll do another good job at trying to pull this off. But speaking of the Stars and the Golden Knights, they were in action in the Sin City on Thursday, where the Dallas Stars held off the Golden Knights with a 5-4 shootout win on Thursday. Mikko Rantanen had the shootout game-winning goal for the Dallas Stars. This was in the third round of the shootout that he scored the game-winning goal. And with the win, Dallas improves to 31-14-9 of the season. They won 3 in a row. They won 4 of their last 7 games. They blew a 3-goal lead in the third period, but somehow still managed to survive in the shootout and hold on for the win. They did the same thing in Tuesday's game against the St. Louis Blues, where they blew a 3-goal lead and somehow still managed to win the game 4-3. Maverick Bourque scored twice for the Dallas Stars. First multi-goal game for him in his NHL career. Wyatt Johnson and Matt Duchene had the other goals for Dallas. Jamie Benn and Sam Steele each had 2 assists. Jake Oettinger made 17 saves on 21 shots faced the net. And for the VGK, Vegas Golden Knights, Mitch Marner and Keegan Colasar each had a golden assist for a 2.9. Mitch Marner had the game time goal with 49 seconds remaining in the third period for the Golden Knights. And Riley Smith had a shorthanded goal in this one. Ivan Barbashev also scored for the Golden Knights. This was Ivan Barbashev's first goal since December 27. So he ends a 17-game goalless drought for the Golden Knights. And also he had the goal to cut it to a 1-goal game with 6 minutes and 6 seconds remaining in the third period. Aiden Hill made 23 saves on 27 shots faced in net. And for the Golden Knights, they have now lost 5 of their last 6 games, 1-3-2 during the span, and they dropped to 25-14-4 of the season. The Golden Knights, they will play the Kraken at home on Saturday in Las Vegas, Nevada at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Stars wrap up a 3-game road trip in Salt Lake City against the Utah Mammoth on Saturday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And now let's move on from Vegas to New York as the New York Islanders hold off their long-time rivals, the New York Rangers, with a 2-1 win at home on Thursday. They sweep the season series against the New York Rangers. This is the first time since the 2017-18 season that the Islanders have swept the regular season series against the Rangers. They also win the home-and-home set. They won 5-2 back in Long Island on Wednesday and now winning 2-1 on Thursday at Madison Square Garden. And they're now 5-2-1 in the second game of a back-to-back set this season. And fun fact, this is the third time that the Islanders defeated the Rangers on consecutive days in history. The first one was on November 21st to 22nd of 1981 and on October 19th through October 20th of 2005. And they shut out the Rangers at Madison Square Garden 5-0 on November 8th and 2-0 at home on Long Island on December 27th. So they sweep the season series right there. Pretty sure Matthew Schaefer's got to be happy about it as well. I think he said in the interview, or like in his draft interview when he first got drafted by the New York Islanders in 2025 NHL draft, he said, we're going to have fun playing and winning against the New York Rangers. He said something like that. NHL Network has showed this on the fly before they showed the highlights of the game. They showed this draft interview where he said something like that. With the win, the Islanders improved to 30-19-5 of the season. Carson Soucy, he had a goal against his former team. Very well fitting to score when did they make this trade? Like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then 2 days later, he scores against his former team. So I'm pretty sure he didn't receive a not so great warm welcome back in his first game back at Madison Square Garden as an opponent against the New York Rangers playing for the Islanders. But how fitting was it for him to score against his former team just like 2 days later after getting traded to the Islanders by the Rangers. Matthew Schaefer had a goal for the Islanders as well in this. He also made a little history along the way. He scored his 14th goal of the season, which is the second most in NHL history by an 18-year-old defenseman behind Phil Housley, who scored 17 goals before his 19th birthday in the 1982-83 season. And Matthew Schaefer was previously tied for second with Bobby Orr, who scored 13 goals at 18 years old back in the 1966-67 season, and now he stands second alone for most goals by 18-year-olds. And Matthew Schaefer's goal was his 4th game-winning goal this season, moving him past Dennis Potvin for the most by a rookie defenseman in team history. He also tied Vladimir Malakhov for the second most goals by Islanders rookie defenseman behind Dennis Potvin, who has 17 goals in the 1973-74 NHL season. And Matthew Schaefer had this to say about his accomplishment and him making a little bit of history. He said that saying all those names is crazy because they're going to go down as some of the best defensemen to ever play. Obviously, Potvin playing for the Islanders is pretty cool. Everyone knows him. He's created a great legacy with the Islanders and everything. You don't really think about it that much, but when those names pop up and you hear those names, it's an honor to be with those guys and things like that and see what they done. And that's what he said on making the accomplishments. So very well said from Matthew Schaefer. Ilya Sorokin made 20 saves on 21 shots, faced the net. And for the New York Rangers, Mika Zibanejad scored the lone goal for the Rangers. His 273rd career goal with the team, moving him past Andy Bathgate for 5th most goals in franchise history. And he ties Henrik Zetterberg and Philip Forsberg for the 6th most goals by a Sweden-born player in NHL history with 337 goals. Jonathan Quick made 19 saves on 21 shots faced in net. And the Rangers, they were playing their second straight game without Artemi Panarin. Of course, as we talked about on Thursday's episode of the Hockey Talk for TG podcast, he was scratched for roster-related reasons. He is expected to be traded. I think the trade might happen after the Olympics, but we'll just have to see how everything will go. And I also mentioned my top 3 teams that I would love to see him be a part of on Thursday's episode of Hockey Talk TG podcast. Make sure to go check out that episode if you have not already after this one. And the Rangers, they lost 5 of their past 6 games and 10 of their last 12 games. And they dropped to 22, 27, and 6 of the season. They will be in the Steel City, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to take on Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. This game will air on ABC and ESPN Plus for you guys to watch. The Islanders will play the Predators at home on Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But moving on from Manhattan, New York to Buffalo, New York. Alex Tuch, he notches a hat trick in the Sabres 4-1 win over the Kings on Thursday. Fourth career hat trick for Alex Tuch, and Buffalo improves to 31-17-5 of the season. They won 5 in a row, and they won 20 of the last 24 games. So they continue to stay red hot, and it's unbelievable to see where the Sabres are at this point. If you were to tell me back in October or November of the 2025-26 season that the Sabres will be in third place of the Atlantic Division and possibly be on their way to making the Stanley Cup playoffs, I would have said that you're crazy. It's not happening. It's totally not happening. Like, the Sabres are going to be the same Sabres that we saw in previous years before, still finishing near the bottom of the Atlantic Division and missing out on the playoffs. I would have said something like that sometime around October or November of the 2025-26 season. But as you guys, like me, I'm pretty sure you guys are shocked too to see where the Sabres are at, including if you're a Sabres fan. Like, it's crazy to see how the Sabres are on this magical run so far this 2025-26 season. Nobody had this on their bingo card of the Sabres being in third place in the Atlantic Division and them being on this hot streak that they are right now. And Buffalo has won a league-leading 21 games since December the 1st. It is crazy to think about. It's crazy to see that the Sabres are on this run. And I always said in previous years before that the Sabres have a great, young, talented team. But they can never seem to get over the hump and make the Stanley Cup playoffs. They have all this talent and still no playoff appearance since, 2010, 2011? Yeah, but it could, maybe, just maybe. I'm not saying that it will, because I have to see it to believe it, that the Sabres maybe might make the playoffs. Just a little bit. But I'm not guaranteeing that they will make the playoffs, because like I said, I have to see it to believe it. Matthias Samson scored for the Sabres in this one. He extends his point streak to 5 games. Which is the longest in his career. He has 8 points during the span, 1 goal, 7 assists for 8 points during a 5-game point streak. Jack Quinn had 3 assists in this one, while Alex Lyon makes 37 saves on 38 shots faced in net. He's now won his 10th straight game, and he was previously tied with Gary Desjardins, who had won 9 straight games from December 11th to the 29th of 1976. And Alex Lyon is the 8th goalie in NHL history with a 10-game win streak in his first season with a team. And Lindy Ruff also made a little bit of history as well. He now coached his 1,300 game with the Sabres, which is second most by a coach with a single team. Al Arbour is first with 1,500 games coached with the New York Islanders. For the LA Kings, Adrian Kempe scored the lone goal for LA. He extends his point streak to 5 games, which he has 5 points during the span. Darcy Kemper made 28 saves on 31 shots faced in net. And the LA Kings point streak, 6-game point streak, comes to an end, in which they are 3-0-3 during the span, and they dropped to 22-17-3 of the season. LA continues their 5-game road trip in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, against the Flyers on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Central Time. This was supposed to be a 6-game road trip, but because of the winter snowstorm game for the winter snowstorm for the Blue Jackets game against the Kings on Monday, January the 26th, that game got postponed. And will be moved to a later date throughout the season. So it is now a 5-game road trip for LA instead of a 6-game road trip for them. The Sabres will play their Atlantic Division rivals, the Montreal Canadiens, on Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. These two teams played not too long ago on January the 22nd. So that was That was on last Thursday, where the Sabres won 4-2 in Montreal against the Canadiens. Will the Canadiens have a response back against Buffalo? We'll just have to see in this game. Taking a look at the other games from a busy 15-game slate on Thursday, the Bruins went 6-3 against the Flyers. The Flyers were playing a back-to-back set in this one. They played in Columbus on Wednesday and they lost 5-3. Travis Konecny with a hat trick in the game, and then they lose 6-3 against the Bruins. Canadiens win 7-3 against the Avalanche in this Quebec matchup. That's right, it was a Quebec matchup. The Avalanche were wearing their Quebec Nordiques jerseys in this one against the Canadiens. And another hockey history fact, the Avalanche were called the Quebec Nordiques before they were called the Avalanche. And we saw players like Joe Sakic on the team at the time when they were called the Quebec Nordiques before they moved to Denver and called themselves the Avalanche. I know a lot of people are saying that they want a team back in Quebec, but I don't think they're going to be getting one anytime soon, especially now that they have the Montreal Canadiens, who have been in the league for a long, long time. Most Stanley Cup wins in NHL history, by the way. I believe they have, 24 Stanley Cups that they won so far. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, just correct me in the comments. But I believe the Canadiens have won 24 Stanley Cups in league history. I could be wrong, but I might look it up just in case if I am wrong. Let's see. Yep, I was right. 24 Stanley Cups in team history. So that's the most Stanley Cups won out of any other team in the NHL, past or present. Nick Suzuki, he had 2 goals and assists in this one for a 3-point night. He now has 12 points in his past 7 games, 4 goals, 8 assists for 12 points in his past 7 games for Nick Suzuki. And this was payback for the Montreal Canadiens against the Avalanche, because the Canadiens had lost 7-2 in Colorado back on November 29th, and the Canadiens responded with a 7-3 win against the Avalanche in this one. Lightning win 4-1 against the Winnipeg Jets. It's their 16th win in their past 18 games. They stay red hot on home ice, and are now 15-9-0 at home this season. Devils went 3-2 in overtime against the Predators. Nico Hischier with the overtime game-winning goal. Jack Hughes got injured in this game for the Devils back in the first period. We'll see what the status is for him sometime in the next 1-2 days or so. I haven't heard anything yet. But we'll see what his injury status is and if he's good to go. I think he came back in the second period of that game. He got injured in the first period, came back in the second period, and then left and then didn't return for the rest of the game. Penguins, unfortunately, went 6-2 against the Chicago Blackhawks on Thursday. And then the St. Louis Blues, which kills me to see that the Blues win and the Blackhawks don't, because I hate the Blues because I'm a Blackhawks fan. But the Blues win 5-4 against the 2-time Cup champion Florida Panthers. Jimmy Snuggerud with the game-winning goal with 9 seconds remaining. In the third period, with 9 seconds remaining in the third period, Jimmy Snuggerud had the game-winning goal on the power play for his 8th goal of the season. Matthew Tkachuk scores 2 goals in this one. His first 2 goals of the season since coming back from that surgery injury. He now has 6 points in 6 games this season, 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points in 6 games this season for Matthew Tkachuk. Wild win 4-1 against the Flames. Oilers win 4-3 in overtime. Comeback win for the Oilers. They were down 3-0. And they win 4-3 in overtime. Zach Hyman with the overtime game-winning goal. Canucks shut out Ducks 2-0. Nikita Topolo made 32 saves for the shutout win for Vancouver. Canucks had lost 14 of the last 15 games coming into this one, so this was okay, big-time win for Vancouver or so. Both goals for the Canucks coming in the third period, by the way. And then the Kraken went 5-2 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto has now lost 6 straight games. And for the Kraken, they have now won their 3rd straight game. So it was a busy action on Thursday night. Only a light day for this Friday. There's only one NHL game on the slate for this Friday, and that is the Columbus Blue Jackets taking on the Chicago Blackhawks at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. This will air on NHL Network for you guys to watch. Both teams playing a back-to-back set for the Blackhawks. This is the second of a back-to-back set because, as I mentioned, they were in Pittsburgh on Thursday and they lost 6-2 to the Penguins, and this will be the second of a back-to-back set for them at home against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets playing the first of a back-to-back set. They'll be in St. Louis on Saturday to take on the St. Louis Blues at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then there's going to be 14 games overall for this Saturday, 3 games for this Sunday. Sunday, again, is the 2026 NHL Stadium Series between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins at Raymond James Stadium. Not sure how the weather will be for that. Well, not sure how the ice will hold up for that one. It's going to be 47 degrees on Sunday in Tampa, low 31 degrees in the morning. So, not sure how the ice will hold up, but I'm pretty sure the NHL will find a way to make it happen. Right now, though, it's currently 67 degrees in Tampa, Florida, but it's going to be a little bit cold this weekend, though. So I'm pretty sure this will be fitting for the Stadium Series. Like I said, I heard on Fox Weather that Florida is going to experience its very first cold weather in decades. So hard to believe that since Florida's usually a cold state, but we'll see how the ice holds up for the NHL Stadium Series in Tampa between the Lightning and the Bruins. Like I said, it's 67 degrees right now. It's going to be 47 degrees on Sunday. So can't wait for the NHL Stadium Series in Tampa. Like I said, I was in Miami for the Winter Classic in January. It was a good one. Between the Florida Panthers and New York Rangers, Mika Subban had a hat trick in that game. First hat trick in Winter Classic history. That's going to do it for this episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button on the Hockey Talk TG podcast. Make sure to follow the Hockey Talk TG podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. We are with you guys every Tuesday and Thursday now, 1 o'clock p.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And it's, actually, I said that wrong. Every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 o'clock p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Central Time, and then 2 o'clock p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. As you guys know, I am a fast talker, so I tend to talk fast and kind of stumble a little bit along the way. So it's just a force of habit. I am a fast talker. So yeah, but I'll try and slow down with my words whenever I talk to you guys on the Hockey Talk to You podcast. Both of you guys have a great rest of your day. Keep God first as always. Be blessed. Enjoy your weekend. Lots of hockey coming up this weekend. Just only one game on the slate for today, and that's the Blackhawks and Blue Jackets, in which these two teams will meet 5 days later in Columbus on February the 4th before the Olympic break. So it's going to be lots of hockey to look forward to this weekend. Just only one game on today. Can't wait for that. I'll see you guys all on Tuesday for another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Take care.